All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk, Madam Deputy Clerk, and welcome back, members of council and members of staff and the public. This is the Township of Clearview meeting for Monday, March the 10th, 2025. Council did meet at 4 o'clock for a brief in-camera session, and we've now returned for the 5:30 session of our regular council meeting at this time. I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. We acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Tiahuanaco, the Wendat, and is the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people as part of the intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. And at this time of reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask the Creator for guidance in all that we do. And as always, it's my privilege to say the land acknowledgement on behalf of the township as the mayor, so I do so voluntarily and proud to do so. Council, on our regular agenda, we did have our closed session, as I mentioned a minute ago, and we are moving on to item number 2, which is our approval of the agenda. Prior to that, I do have a comment I'd like to open the council session with, and that is to acknowledge the passing of a rather significant member of the Stayner community, someone who has served this community both in the municipal world as well as the community world. Someone who has served the Royal Canadian Legion faithfully in our community for many, many years. A man who was a World War II veteran with the Royal Canadian Air Force. Our community lost, after 101 years, Mr. Alistair Mac MacDonald. And, you know, he was a gentleman to speak to, a pleasure to have conversations with, always interested and engaged with what's going on in our community every time I spoke to him. And also very proud of his family and very proud of the comrades that he has at the Royal Canadian Legion. So the community will grieve his loss. I understand that there will be quite a gathering coming up in the coming weeks, as some of you may have attended his 100th birthday party, which we held at the Stayner Community Center. What a great time that was. There was a lot of people there really celebrating what a great fella. So here we are basically a year and a half later, and we've lost Mac as people get to know him. So nevertheless, I just wanted to mention that, you know, first of all, as I said, because he's a great community guy and, you know, to our municipality. He was the former mayor of the former town of Stayner. And so we just want to acknowledge his passing at this time and wish all the best for the family and offer them our condolences. Council, we're going to move on then to our approval of the agenda. Let's see. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda dated March the 10th, 2025 as presented. The mover and seconder, here we are. We got Broderick and MacArthur. Thank you. Is there any questions or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor? Thank you. That carries. I also neglected to look up and acknowledge that our deputy mayor is joining us virtually tonight. Nice to see you, Paul, and welcome to the meeting. I'll try to remember to look up for your card if you have things you want to say. And if I fail to do so, don't be afraid to just turn on that mic and say hello, okay?
Will do.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Council will go to our declarations of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. If anybody has any declarations at this time. Seeing none, if anything comes up during the meeting, please bring it forward. We'll deal with it right away at that time. Now we're going to go to our public participation period. I look across our audience and we do not have any members of the public attending at this time in our chambers. So I will not read the regular script, but I do know that we have received some electronic participations, Madam Clerk. Is that correct? So Deputy Clerk, we did receive some. Have you distributed them to everybody?
Yes, Your Worship. There were 4 and they have been distributed and they're with you tonight.
Gotcha. Okay, so I have 4 items here in front of me. And so for members of council and the public, I will do my best to review these electronic submissions. The first one comes from Mr. Dave Witzka. As the taxpayer spends thousands of dollars per month advertising in the Creemore Echo, why isn't there a dedicated space for upcoming council meetings, hall board meetings, etc., and links to the electronic participation period made easy instead of actually being forced to search for it? Mr. Witzka, back page and the advertising that we do is under a very well-discussed contract. And I know that you have had some disappointment in that contract. I can advise you that it is a good dollar value for what we're receiving, and it is used by our senior management team in most recent months to promote many of the job opportunities that are available through the township. And we have done some changes to that as well by adding some of the activities that council's doing, as well as through the economic development, officer. We've been promoting our opportunity for businesses to fill out the survey information. So there are some other ads on the back page. Upcoming council meetings are obviously pretty regularly scheduled, and there's no need for us to dedicate space in advertising dollars for upcoming council meeting announcements. That would be a very wasteful way of taking up space, valuable space in the local Creemore Echo. And so I disagree with your sense on this one. But thank you very much for your public participation question, Mr. Witzka. We have another public participation question. It also comes from Mr. Dave Witzka. Mr. Witzka says, perusing the Clearview Township YouTube channel, I couldn't find any recent evening hall board meeting videos. The last one posted in 2022. Why aren't there any recent videos? And then he sort of jabs at us here, council, by saying, I thought openness and transparency were priority one. Well, you're right. They are. They are priorities to us at council. Mr. Witzka, there are no videos from the evening hall board. The evening hall board have been meeting in person. They're not required by any of our procedures to have the meetings videotaped. Certainly, during the COVID crisis, many of our boards did decide to opt for that opportunity to do live streaming of their meetings so that they could get together in a safe and social distancing way. But that is not the purpose of the board meetings, nor the evening hall board meeting. So there are no recent videos. Council, item number 3. We've got another deputation here, or sorry, a public participation. And this one comes from Mr. Dave Witzka. Mr. Witzka writes, sidewalks and snowmobiles, which is the township's top priority. You brag about accessibility, even throw up banners bragging about it. And yet the safety of pedestrians, quite a few with mobility issues, are forced to navigate massive snow barriers frequently. And then he goes on to ask, so which is it, tax-paying pedestrian safety or seasonal snowmobiles? So Mr. Witzka, that is a very interesting point that you've brought up. And as I've shared with members of council when they all receive this, that, I'm actually not surprised to see this again. This question has been asked of us in the past. And I can point out to you, it's a similar answer. The Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs and the local snowmobile team, which is a volunteer organization, they operate the groomers that are grooming the trails that go right through our community, that bring great economic development and activity to our community through commerce. And yes, snow does accumulate on the sidewalk. There is something that is of interest, though, Mr. Witzka. While you post about this barrier of snow, I don't see you posting about the fact that our Public Works Department has a sidewalk plow that generally looks after that and looks after it in a timely manner. Every time it snows, we have sidewalk plows that they remove all the snow off the sidewalks to the best of their ability in a timely and efficient manner. So, but I will take this question, Mr. Witzka, and I will pass it on to the Director of Public Works, and the Director of Public Works can review it and see if there's any policy changes or procedural changes that can be made by our teams to address this issue. Further to that, you can appreciate that our resident snowmobile expert, Councillor Broderick, and I also had a conversation about this, and I'm sure he'll have a conversation with the OFSC in regards to how that works. Thank you, Mr. Witzka, for that input. Council, we have a fourth message that was sent to us through the public participation period. This one is from Melissa Wilkie. And so thank you, Melissa, for writing to us. You do have a very long question, so I'll just summarize it in the fact that you're asking for rezoning of commercial space so that you can operate a daycare. And I believe you have been contacted by the, because when this was brought in, I immediately got our clerk to circle it around to some of our staff, because the issues that are raised in this are straight up zoning issues. And I think that you've been contacted by Amy, who is our director, and I believe that she's going to handle this for you. Your question, though, is very good. We do want to continue to support small businesses in our community, and that's a daycare center is certainly one of those. The other issue there, of course, is that the property owner is the person who has to apply for these type of zonings. So while, you know, if you're entering into a lease, you can work with the owner to do that. So there's a little bit of coordination that needs to be done to make sure that the appropriate zone is in place. And so, of course, some of these zoning issues around daycare are also centered around the provincial government regulations about daycare. So I believe this has already been answered, but this is just for good information for everybody else that we've received this from you, Melissa. And I know you and I are going to have a conversation on the phone someday real soon to have a quick conversation about this as well. Okay. And that concludes our public participation periods for tonight. Thank you to our clerk and deputy clerk for making sure that they get distributed. Now, again, just for information, that is available on our website as a portal to submit your questions. And when you submit on that page, every member of council gets an email, and all members of the clerk's department receive the same email that's generated by the question being produced there. So it doesn't just go to one person, it goes to all of us, and many of us have an opportunity to see the questions as they come in. All right, that concludes. So we'll move on to our delegations and presentations. Item 5, we have none, and public meetings, we have none tonight. So council, we're going to move straight over to number 7, which is approval of our council meeting minutes. Be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the minutes of February 24th, 2025 council meeting as presented. And I'll look this direction. And Councillor Deneen, Councillor Walker, thank you very much. Any questions, council, for the minutes? Seeing none, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you, sir. All right. And moving on, we have correspondence items under 8.1. 8.1 is a report from our closed session. I have a separate motion that came out of our closed session, and I'll read this and I'll look for a mover and seconder. This is from our closed session. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby accepts the resignation of Barb Hossel and Carol Esperandio as members of the Creemore Station on the Green Board, and that Council appoints Shalani Ingram and Alan Riddell to the Creemore Station on the Board, Station on the Green Board, and Joanne Rafalowski. Hi, Joanne. Joanne Rafalowski to the Dunedin Village Hall Board, and that council directs staff to amend appointment bylaw 22-101 to add these appointments. Mr. Beelan, thank you. Mr. Walker, thank you. Are any questions about this motion? Sorry, I didn't say the names correctly. I should have practiced them. Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor. Thank you, council. That carries unanimously. All right, moving on. Item 8.2. This is a recommendation that is for information as it's already occurred. We have a resolution. I'm going to have a little sip of water here. We have a resolution in regards to the It Starts month. I delivered this resolution already with members of our council as we did a flag raising. So I'll read it here and we'll put it into official motion here. Whereas inclusion, acceptance, and equity are important approaches to the diversity of residents living in the community, in any community, especially in our growing and changing region. And whereas the month represents opportunities to further and resolve as we pause to celebrate the diversity of the human race rather than allow our dissimilarities to become a reason for racial separation. And whereas we encourage all to celebrate the differences in each other, such as race, culture, color, national origin, gender, age, disability, and religion. And whereas this month represents Yeah, that's the paragraph that should have been edited out because it's already been stated in here. Whereas March 21st is recognized as the National Day of Elimination for Racial and Discrimination. And whereas the Simcoe County Local Immigration Partnership, it's known as SCLIP, is a community partnership focused on the development of settlement strategies for newcomers. These strategies bring together and support service delivery to newcomers in Simcoe County while promoting positive relationships, opportunity, and the use of local resources effectively. And therefore, I, Mayor Doug Measures, on behalf of Clearview Township Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as hashtag It Starts Month here in Simcoe or in Clearview Township, and encourage everyone to take a stand and participate and learn more about the hashtag It Starts campaign. All right, we'll put that on the floor. Mr. Walker. Thank you. And Mr. Broderick, thank you. I know you joined me and other members on council to help us raise the flag. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor? Thank you. That carries unanimously. Happy to do that. It's a good program. Item number 3 is the NVCA media highlights. Item number 4 is the advisory about county opens the 2025 age-friendly housing grant program. That's pretty exciting. And item 5 is the release about reduced road restrictions to be implemented on March the 8th across the county of Simcoe. So theirs has changed just a little bit from ours. Is there any, oh yeah, item 6 is also a media release from the NVCA about their interim CAO. And item 7 is the February 2025 board meeting highlights. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Perhaps the Deputy Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to add in regards to those several NVCA items, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. If it's okay with you, I'd like to, in my ward report, I'll talk about it at that time, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's coming right up, but I just going to give you an opportunity since it's on the agenda.
I need to talk about it, so.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so if there's any other questions from members of council on any of these items? No? All right. Very good. Then we will receive all of those items. And now we're going to move to our ward report section of the agenda, which is 9.1. And I'm going to start with the Deputy Mayor. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple things. First thing, on the 25th, we did the ribbon cutting or shoveling at the McPherson home site. Excellent reception. They really appreciated the team being out there. NVCA, we met on February 28th, and it's a breath of fresh air right now. As everybody's aware, our CAO retired, and we have an interim CAO, but the big thing that's changed is our new chairman, is Jonathan Scott, who is out of Bradford, West Gwillimbury, is doing a phenomenal job making the rounds and getting some situations cleaned up, straightened up. It was a breath, really nice to see the e-permitting is now live. I haven't had any feedback on it yet, but we are e-permitting, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more from our Director of Planning and stuff in days to come about that. We've also issued releases in regards to the request by Oro Medonte to consider the merging of LSRC to Lake Simcoe Regional and NVCA. And NVCA has said there has been no proof of betterment or improvement or savings. And we've stepped up and said, no, we'd like to stay the way we are. So just so you know, that's what's going on. It's like I say, there'll be more coming up very shortly. We do have another meeting coming up this week for other situations, and we look forward to that. Also, on March 6th, I attended last Thursday night. We had the Ag Advisory Committee for the County of Simcoe. And it was a lot of stuff going on, which we participate actively with. Doug, I'm just going to put you on notice that August 11th, 2025, they are doing a tour in Simcoe County for all the OFA for all of Ontario, and they will be potentially touring the marijuana operation from Peter Miller down at Cashdown Corners, and they will probably look for your presence for a speech. So keep that in mind, sort of thing. I won't talk right now. I'll throw it to some Councillor Beelan or to the mayor in regard to our Hall of Fame nominations. I think we're all working on that right now, but that's what I have to say.
Well, thank you so much, Deputy Mayor. That's great, and I'm glad you brought up all those items, and you're keeping very busy. Well done. I'm sure we'll talk about the Hall of Fame nominations here in a minute. But at this time, I'll look to my little chart here, and I see our Councillor Broderick is up first. So we'll go to Mr. Broderick. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. February 25th, attended the McPherson Homes groundbreaking. Also on the 25th, attended the Creemore BIA meeting, which unfortunately did not meet a quorum. March the 3rd, attended the It Starts flag raising at the Hub. March 5th, attended the Business Insight Tour at Barb's Clothes Closet. On March the 7th, I attended the Sunnydale Hall Board meeting, and tomorrow I will be attending the Simcoe County Council meeting. Also tomorrow night, the Chamber of Commerce Executive meeting. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you very much. Good job. Mr. MacArthur, Councillor MacArthur.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I also attended the McPherson opening shoveling there. March 3rd, the It Starts flag raising. March 5th was the business tour at Barb's Clothes Closet. Really nice to see behind the scenes input into some of our successful local businesses. I forget what day it was, streetscapes and meeting for the Creemore beautification type project. So we're getting tons of input on that, and it's going forward full speed. Later that day was Evening Hall. Got the word we're anxiously looking for an opening in possibly May. So we're trying to plan some kind of grand opening event there this fall sometime. And on the 7th, Log Cabin had a meeting, and just we're going to have on the May long weekend, Queen Victoria's birthday, of course. So we're going to be doing a grand entrance with Queen Victoria herself showing up in a horse-drawn carriage. So if you're doing anything on Saturday of the long weekend, please come down. And of course, this Saturday with Green Beer Day and everything, St. Paddy Day is coming up. So Dunedin Hall is having an acoustic open mic pub night on Saturday at the Dunedin Hall. And also there will be a St. Paddy's party on Saturday night at Station on the Green. So there's no shortage of entertainment.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job. Looking forward to it. And playing the role of Queen Victoria is Councillor Deneen.
Not quite.
Okay, I'm just teasing.
That's okay. Thank you. On the topic of Green Beer Day, Duntroon is having their annual Green Beer Day as well this Saturday. It's from 4 till 10. It says 10, but I think it goes till about midnight sometimes. It's $10. There'll be a food truck, photo booth. The Ben Gorham Highlanders will be there, and DJ Stu to round out the night. Nottawa Hall, the Clearview Library Days. The next visit for that is March 16th. It's Sunday morning from 9 to 11. And apologies to anyone who came out to the one on March 2nd and they were unable to attend the hall. So apologies there. And I just want to say a big thanks to Barb's Clothes Closet as well. I really enjoyed the tour over there the other day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll let you talk about the Hall of Fame awards.
Sure. Okay.
February 25th, I attended the McPherson ribbon cutting. It's nice to see that place moving along the way it is. March the 5th, the Climate Action Committee met, and I want to remind everyone that Earth Day is April 22nd, and there will be an event at the Echo Park, and you'll see announcements about that. And today, the Station of the Green meeting, special meeting, St. Patrick's Day event was canceled, but it's back on now, and tickets are selling real fast. So get them while you can. Thank you.
Excellent. St. Paddy's Day. Good job. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, March the 1st, Health and Leisure Showcase. Unfortunately, Mother Nature was not playing fair that day. We had a few vendors, a few displays not able to be there. And unfortunately, the numbers were only about 50 or 55 people that were able to brave the weather and come out. But it was still an interesting day. lots of conversation with other vendors, other displays, so it was really good. On March the 3rd, I was part of the It Starts flag raising. And if you look at the picture, there is a mystery man there, and please see if you can identify who that mystery man is. On March the 5th, economic development business visit to Barb's clothes closet, and really enjoyable to talk to Barb and Lisa about their business and how long they've been in operation, etc. So, and also just an update, Stainer-Siskins versus Aurelia. It's 1-1. The series is tied a game apiece, with the next game in Aurelia on Wednesday, and this Wednesday, and then Thursday back home. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. I will speak on a couple of items, but I do want to mention the tour that we had with Barb's Clothes Closet. Like you mentioned, Barb and Lisa were wonderful hosts who really talked to us about the business and some of the challenges they have. You know, it's I just want to mention about recycling. One of the things that they have a difficulty with, which we should talk about this at the county, Mr. Deputy Mayor, we should bring this up. So, you know, all this clothing that they get, and it all comes in this plastic that's wrapped around all the clothing, and they have to literally take all that out, and then they hang it up and so on, which is wonderful, and that's how you do clothing, right? Clothing stores. But the plastic that comes off those clothing, that's not recyclable. That is all garbage, that's crazy. And literally, there's pounds and pounds and pounds of this stuff that they have to deal with every day. So, you know, in their business. So I just found an interesting side note, but wonderful to see them, and congratulations on their 49 years. Barb's looking great, and we're going to hopefully celebrate with them on their 50th, because they're going to have a 50th next year. So now I do want to mention the Hall of Fame. It's the time of year that we ask our members of the public to make a concerted effort to recognize culture and sports in our community, and we have several categories in both arts and sports to be part of. There's lots of opportunity to do that. There's information available on discoverclearview.ca about the Culture and Sports Hall of Fame. Nominations are very important to keep these awards going, and we all know that there are people in our community who absolutely deserve to be nominated and perhaps be successfully awarded and entered into our Hall of Fame, which is growing every year. It's quite something, you know. There's a lot of people who have done significant things across our community, and we're really proud of them. So that's what the Hall of Fame is all about. Please get your nominations in by the end of March. I can't remember if it was 29th or 30th, but let's just say it's the end of March is when it's due. And I know that our staff will receive that information, and our committee will review that and put together a great program for when the announcements get revealed. Council, I wanted you to be aware that the CAO and I met with the CAO and Mayor's Forum across South Georgian Bay here in just recently, and we had the opportunity to talk with our mayors and CAOs about some of the similar issues we have. This is what our forum does. Basically, every 2 to 3 months, we get together to talk about similar projects. I just want you to know, and the community to know, that I brought it up again about transit and transit system, and the availability of transit, public transit, in all of our communities, how we each run our own transit system, plus we have the county system, and it's frankly just complicated for those that are transit users. They have to carry multiple cards to get to work, and different transit fares are charged at different places. And so I was literally pointing my finger at our friends in Collingwood to let them know I need to keep pushing them to get them to understand how important it is for Ottawa to get a bus service, and they are the obvious people to provide that service. And so we need to continue that negotiation with Collingwood to bring us a bus service into Ottawa. So that was part of our discussion, as well as looking at how we can consolidate the card system into something that can work for all. I know the county is working on it as well, so we just need to hopefully get something done sooner on that than later. But it's a good meeting to go to, and to have frank discussions with our CAOs and mayors, and frankly hear their challenges that they're dealing with, similar to some of ours. Now, I do want to mention the Special Olympics. I had the opportunity to attend the Special Olympic basketball tournament, which was held this Saturday at Stainer Collegiate. the Special Olympics in our region have multiple sports that they participate in. But this basketball tournament had 7 different teams from all over the area that came. And so there was, the athletes and their parents and friends and families and so on. Stayner was busy. Like the high school, the parking lot was completely full. Like you would think it was like graduation night or something, like the number of cars that were everywhere around that place. What a busy day it was. And the energy and excitement in the athletes, I tell you, the Special Olympic athletes always impress me. And so I was invited to participate in their ceremony to present their gold and silver medals. And it was awesome because it didn't matter if it was gold or silver. They were all cheering for each other. They really were. It was just a great moment. But officially, Hanover placed silver, and Collingwood Eagles, which is they have 2 teams at Collingwood. The Collingwood Eagles placed gold. So there you go. So it was a good event. And the last event I want to mention is the International Women's Day. The Chamber of Commerce hosted us or invited us to participate. Breyer, our economic development officer, contacted me to make sure that I was available to do a surprise visit to the bakery on the bay, because Stacey Bowden was selected by the Chamber as the International Women's Day recipient as a woman in business. And so it was a terrific event to attend. And, that place is amazing. The cinnamon buns are just like, wow. And I bought 3. Yeah, there's all kinds of other stuff there, Robert, I'm sure. But I bought 3 cinnamon buns and took one over to my wife who was working. And she said she got a quarter of it because over there at the home, everybody wanted a piece, right? So she got a quarter of this thing. Anyway, tell you what, it was a great event. Stacy was completely surprised, Mr. President of the Chamber. I thought you should know. She had no idea. And so it was a great sort of ambush and celebration of her and her team. And it was just a really good day. So I wanted you to know that. So thank you very much. And that's really all I have to report. County Council is going to county meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow, Council, is the day when we have the public meeting. We have a public meeting part of our council agenda where we're going to be hearing from members of the public who have pre-registered to speak about the council composition bylaws that's going to be coming forward. I know that our clerks have met with the county clerks to have a discussion about this whole bylaw and the processes and the questions that they each had to each other, because I was reported back by the clerk of the county, Jonathan. He told me that they had some really good discussions about how this works. And I am putting my trust in our clerk and our clerk's team to help us through that process when it comes to this table for discussion. Tomorrow's role is county council will hear from members of the public who are interested in the composition of the county. And so we'll hear what they have to say, and those comments will be included in a report that you'll receive as part of the package when we receive the package from our clerk. So just wanted to share that with you. It's a bit of a change, to be honest. I've been on the county for a couple of years now, and this is only the 2nd public meeting that I've ever seen at the county. They don't hold them very often. I think honestly we should hold them more often, to be fair. So to hear from the public about county issues. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's session. Isn't that right, Deputy Mayor? I guess you're not attending, right?
John will be there for me.
Yeah, John, you're going to be attending? Good for you. Well, you're going to get to see some interesting meetings. That's good. Happy to have you there, Mr. Broderick. All right, that's all I have, unless nothing else for ward reports. All right, council, let's move on. Over to department reports, which is item number 10 on our agenda. Parks, Recreation and Culture. First item is in regards to the Creemore BIA storage trailer. Okay. Recommendation is, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PCR 003-2025, the Creemore BIA storage trailer dated March the 10th, 2025. Item 1, that Council approve the purchase of a 30-foot enclosed trailer for the Creemore BIA to a maximum amount of $22,000 plus HST. And item 2, that the purchase amount for the enclosed trailer is funded from the tax stabilization reserve. Okay, on the floor, Broderick and MacArthur, thank you very much. Who would like to speak to this? Because I'm sure there are a few questions. Okay, Terry, you're gonna speak to this. I think there's other items, other members of staff who could participate. Mr. Vachon, do you have anything you want to add in regards to the report?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So just a little bit of history for council. This has been a bit of an ongoing issue with the BIA for at least 6+ years that I'm aware of. Our understanding is that the BIA have a variety of event assets that are stored in a bunch of different locations across Creemore, and they're trying to find a centralized location to store their assets. One of the reasons why it's been ongoing for a while is the BIA kind of struggled amongst themselves trying to figure out what exactly they wanted to be, as a building or as a structure, as well as where to potentially put this structure, knowing that Mill Street is pretty busy. So working with the senior management team and the office of the CAO, we proposed to the BIA about potentially purchasing a mobile trailer, approximately 30 feet long. And the BIA were very receptive to that idea. The plan is to temporarily store the trailer over the summer months at either the Creemore Community Center or at 31 Caroline Street, which is the piece of land that's behind the Creemore Library, not the one that's right next to it, but the one that's a little bit further behind. So potentially we can kind of store it there over the course of the summer. And then, of course, over the course of the winter, we would store that trailer again at either the community center or one of our other yards that we have. The reason why it's 22,000, Your Worship, is the department went out and got a quote from a local supplier, and they came back with a quote of approximately 22,000. So if council wants to move ahead with this project, the department will follow through with the procurement process and get some other quotes as well. We already have one local supplier that we know of at this time, but we'll go and get some other quotes and follow through with that purchase.
Yep.
So with that, Your Worship, I'm definitely available for any questions that council may have.
All right, thank you very much. Other members of council have any questions about this recommendation? Mr. MacArthur? And I see Paul go as well. So Mr. MacArthur first.
Yeah, Terry, I'm not sure 30 feet will be big enough, but I don't think you can really go much bigger and be able to move it around on a somewhat convenient basis. But my opinion is, I think I can support this, but it's, in my mind, still just a temporary solution, and hopefully talks keep going forward as to where and when we can find a permanent structure somewhere at a convenient location in Creemore for this. Thanks.
Thank you for those comments. That's good. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I'm in favor of this. My question to Terry is, who will be the owner of this trailer? Number one, if you could answer that first.
Yes,
Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, through Your Worship to Deputy Mayor. Yeah, the township would own it. It's being purchased through the tax stabilization reserve, so it would be managed by the Parks and Rec Department.
Question two for you, Terry. Would we, how we brought the new bylaw in place about labeling and of trailers and stuff like that? It would be a cooperative effort between the BIA and the council as far as how that trailer is labeled?
Yes, again, through Your Worship. Yes, absolutely. There would be advertising opportunity. We can, even get it wrapped if the BIA or council so chooses. But we would definitely put the Clearview logos on that trailer.
Okay. Question three, the concept, I'm not a fan of the concept because to me it's a snowmobile / ATV trailer. I'm more inclined to go with strictly a square nose with a side door. That way they can fill it up better. But I will be glad to volunteer if and when if we approve this to sit on a committee for its procurement, if you want help with that, because we dealt with trailers for years.
Thank you very much for that offer. You can work with the CAO and through Terry that if they want to share that type of information, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Broderick has a question too, and then Mr. Walker. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Terry, the construction of the trailer, is it aluminum frame and ribs or a combination of aluminum and steel?
Yes, again, through Your Worship. I don't know if the style has definitely been decided upon. The proposed trailer that's part of the report is aluminum with like aluminum frame with the strapping that you've mentioned.
Okay. The only reason I asked is I had some experience over the years with trailers, and if you keep it all aluminum, it will last an awful lot longer.
Fair enough. See, we've got some experience on council. They all want to contribute, want to help out, give you some advice. There you go. Appreciate that. Mr. Walker, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of questions. First of all, insurance. We own the trailer. Will we be then paying for the insurance of that trailer and the contents, or just the trailer itself, and BIA will look after the insurance on their contents?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. If I may, can I defer the question to Treasurer McDonald? She's responsible for the insurance portfolio.
Oh, there she is. Oh, hi, Kelly.
Thank
Sorry,
you,
I
Your
didn't-
Worship.
I didn't see you earlier. Sorry, but I know you're there. Go ahead.
Thank you, through Your Worship, to the rest of council. With the township owning the trailer, it'd be in our best interest to include it on our insurance policy. But as far as I know, the BIA would be responsible for the contents insurance.
Okay.
All right.
Second question is, I'm not averse on this, but when you get a 30-foot trailer and loaded, how will it be transported? Like, there are certain rules and regulations, I understand. So I'm not, as I said, I'm not aware of those rules, but I just want to make sure that, it's, if that's the case, it's moved safely and not putting somebody in jeopardy by getting a trailer that's overweight, or however you want to address that.
A 30-foot trailer would be a big trailer, there's no doubt. Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Your Worship. The beauty of the township owning the trailer and the department managing it, we will use our staff to move the trailer back and forth. We have done a little bit of research with respect to the rules around that. And the only thing that's really required is a 3/4 ton truck, which we have on order, which should be here this month as part of our enterprise program. And you just require a regular G license to pull that trailer. But we will be using our Parks and Rec staff to move that trailer back and forth so that volunteers or members of the public are not moving it and putting anybody else in harm. We're going to use our trained employees.
Just to follow up, then, do we know how many times our staff are going to have to move that trailer back and forth? Like, to me, it's kind of an unknown. Like, we're tying up staff, moving a trailer back and forth, and the truck is going to have to pretty well stay with it. If they take it downtown to unload it, they're going to have, staff are pretty well going to have to stay with it while they unload it and move things around. I'm assuming that's the reason for the trailer, is to be able to transport it down the street and back up the street and unload. So we're tying up staff doing that. I preferably myself would like to see us go to a building. You can buy a 12 by 18 well-built for about $9,000. And you could buy two of them for that price, and that would get, I think, would give them, there's lots of space there then to store stuff. So I think a permanent building would be a better solution. But I just have those questions with regards to the transportation and that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, go ahead, Terry.
Sorry, Your Worship. I could answer a few questions that
Sure.
Councillor Walker brought up. The first one is, I think our best estimate was it was going to be moved approximately 6 to 8 times over the course of the summer, and then of course once for the winter. Also, the plan was to move the trailer on a Friday, drop it off down by Mill Street. It would stay there for the weekend so the BIA can use it all weekend. And then on the Monday, we would go and pick it up and bring it back to its designated area. So the truck would not have to stay with the trailer. The trailer would just stay there for the whole weekend. And we wouldn't have staff that would be with the trailer. It's just dropping it off. They can do their stuff and then we pick it back up. With respect to the point regarding the building, you are correct. But like I mentioned earlier, that's been the ongoing issue for the 6+ years, is we can never figure out a location where to put those buildings or that building. That's what's been struggling. That's what the BIA has struggled for quite a while, is trying to find out where to put that, where it's going to be close to where they don't have to truck the goods from, say, a building to downtown. So that's why we thought this trailer would be the easier way of trying to solve that problem.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Thank you, Mr. Vachon. Mr. Beelan, and then back to Broderick.
You already had your turn, right, John? Thank you, Your Worship. I have a number of questions. First off, where would this trailer be made? In Canada or the US?
100%. Let's hear that answer.
Your Worship, I do not know. I haven't asked our supplier where that trailer, where he sources out his trailer. The local supplier is obviously Mr. Ken Ferguson. I don't know where he purchases his trailers from.
I would think that we'd want to put in there that it needs to be Canadian made. I have some concerns about vandalism, and these kind of trailers, these enclosed trailers, get stolen quite often. I'm wondering if there's a better place to store it. Is it big enough? I'm wondering too, would a permanent shed be made? And I thought the idea was to store the assets, not to be necessarily close to where they can distribute them. I don't mind if we parked this somewhere else and they had to bring the, whatever they're storing to it. If we could find a location for a shed or two that Mr. Walker's talking about.
Okay, before you asked for any answers to that, did you make a proposal for an amendment?
No, I did not. I was just wondering if that would be a better thing, because I don't think I can support buying the trailer, but I
I'm
could
thinking about
probably-
your US versus Canada made.
Well, okay, we could put in a friendly amendment in there that, yeah, it needs to be Canadian made.
Oh, the clerk's getting excited over here. What's the problem? Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I don't know if our Director of Finance can come back on. I just want to make sure that we're within the rights of our procurement bylaw, because we haven't made any updates regarding tariffs, if we can go with just Canadian made.
Oh, this will be good. Come on, Kelly.
Thank you, Clerk Helmke. That's a wonderful question. To be honest with you, our procurement policy doesn't speak to a specific country of origin as far as purchasing. We do have provisions for approved vendor lists. We do have tender processes. I know Terry is going to go out and get a few more quotes. In my view, the way our procurement policy is written, it's a council decision. If council decides that they want one supplier over another, that's within their rights.
Thank you. I don't even mind if it comes with a sombrero.
Mr. Vachon.
Thank you, Worship. If I may add, if council so chooses to buy a Canadian product only, I don't know if that'll affect the price. So the resolution has a maximum of 22,000. I don't know if a Canadian made product will be under that 22,000. So we may have to adjust the amount or not use the 22,000, open that number up because a Canadian made product might be more expensive. Just putting it out there.
The clerk is madly writing away here. So first of all, are you making an amendment, Mr. Beelan?
Yes, I would like to make the amendment.
Okay, so that's in regards to Canadian made products.
I don't think we can word it any other way. I mean, you could say as long as it's not made in the USA, but I would like it to be Canadian made, yes.
Okay, there you go. How about a seconder? Mr. Walker, thank you very much. All right. Anybody else on the issue? Who's over here? Mr. Okay, here we go. This is going to get fun now, folks. Okay.
No,
The CAO, go ahead, John.
Thank you, Your Worship. And in the spirit of having fun, I was thinking maybe that I think that they are Canadian made. If I know the local supplier, I know at least one of the companies to deal with is definitely Canadian made. And there are other suppliers and builders in Canada that you can get a Canadian made. I think this might be fine in this instance, but we'll follow the directive anyway, just to make sure that we are purchasing Canadian made.
If there's any change in your direction, you can come back to council for direction. Okay. Council, would you like to vote on the amendment, or is this considered a friendly? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can I just have clarification? Right now I have it that the amendment would be that council's preference is that the trailer be Canadian made, or would you like it to be completely Canadian made? No relation to preference.
Mr. Beelan.
Could you repeat that, please?
Thank you through Your Worship to Councillor Beelan. Right now I have the amendment is that council's preference is that the trailer be Canadian made. So that council's amending the motion to add a part 3, that council's preference is that the trailer be Canadian made.
Sounds perfect.
Thank you. Is this going to be considered a friendly? Gentlemen, you two are the movers and seconders.
We already had a mover for the amendment, second.
Yeah, I do, but I'm just asking, is it a friendly, or are we going to vote on it? You want to vote on it? Members of council, you've heard the amendment as presented. I'll call the motion on the amendment. All those in favor? It carries unanimous. Thank you. The amendment carries. Back to the main motion. Any other further questions on the main motion? Yes? Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Broderick. I didn't forget about you. I just have to keep looking left or right.
More of a comment, really, through your worship. In defense of a trailer versus a solid building, the trailer would be advantageous for events in that you could actually transport everything right to the site and have it available for that. I just had that thought when we were talking about it, where if we hit, even if we could find a place for a fixed building, which may be the ultimate answer, we would still have to come up with some form of transport, another trailer or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. I would agree with Councillor Broderick's comment, but the only thing I want to warn Councillor or Mr. Vachon about a G license is good up to about 11,000 kilograms. That truck and trailer must be certified because of its weight and carrying capacity. In all likelihood, you will need a Class D license, which we have. I know we have plenty D licensed drivers in our Public Works Department, but this truck and trailer is not going to be driven by an average person. I'm just telling you that straight out.
Yeah. An average driver.
An average driver, correct.
There's many average persons out there for sure.
Correct. But we have staff that can do it. I have no problem with that. So.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Beelan, you're up next again.
Yeah, just a quick Google search. There are Canadian companies making 24-foot trailers. They don't make 30-foot
No.
with a payload of 4,000 pounds. And they're about $16,000. So
there you go.
I think there should be able to find a Canadian company.
Yeah. I support what the CAO is saying on that point. You're right. We can probably find one. Yes, Mr. Okay. Okay. Anybody else looking for cards in hands? Anybody else? Okay. I'd like to go back to Kelly. Kelly, you didn't get away scot-free on this one. I need to have a quick response to your response. Ms. McDonald, you mentioned about insurance and you talked about the contents would be that of the BIAs and the trailer would be that of the Township of Clearview. I'm going to disagree with you because the BIA is a creature of the Township of Clearview. So anything that the BIA owns is part of the Township of Clearview. Much like all of our hall boards. They own something that's been paid for and run by our hall. It is part of the Township of Clearview. So I think you need to have a conversation with our insurer to understand that all of the assets, capital assets, pieces and parts from tables and chairs and everything, they are owned by the Township of Clearview. They're managed by the boards and committees that we assign. So all of this materials are township materials. That you agree with me, Kelly?
I 100% agree. The way I was sort of looking at it was more operating versus
Yes.
insuring an asset.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking because, you know, as it was brought up, something gets stolen. You know, the trailer has a value for sure, and the contents have a value for sure. And as it goes down the road and disappears, we want to make sure that we have it protected to the best financial ability as we can. Okay? All right. I think we just need to clarify that. The last point I want to ask too is, I'll get to you in a second. The last point I want to ask actually to Terry. Terry, in the fall of the year and the spring of the year, we always have the great installation of our beautiful flower boxes and the flower pots. And I know that I've heard from BIA members when I've discussed it with them that they're enormously heavy, and they're not. Yeah, and that's good. It's good that they're heavy, so they don't blow away in the wind and that kind of thing. But are we going to be storing those in the trailer in the winter months? Is that the visualization, or because right now I don't even know where they are at this time of year? Where are those?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so to answer your first question, no, the thought wasn't that we were going to use a trailer to store the plants.
Yeah.
Our understanding is that the BIA is going to be able to fill up that 30-foot trailer just with their assets. The plants, the pots are actually emptied over the course of the fall, and they surprisingly don't weigh much when there's no dirt or flowers in them.
Oh, you take them completely out?
We take them completely out.
Okay, that I didn't know,
Yeah,
because,
and then we store
you know, the first lady has pots and so on around
Yeah.
my backyard, and they're
Yeah.
damn heavy because they're full of soil.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought they still had soil. Okay, well, that's smart. Good.
Yeah, we
Okay.
remove it. We actually bring the soil to the eco park, to the community garden, and then we store the part of the standard pots are stored at the eco park, to answer
Okay.
your question, and the creamer are stored behind the library.
All right, I just wasn't sure where those were and how we dealt with that, so
But they are
I was
heavy.
just thinking that the trailer would get filled with them pretty quick, because they're pretty big. And then there's all those chairs, those, you know, those plastic Adirondacks, they take up space. So, okay. All right, that's all I really have on this issue. Now, Mr. Broderick, had something else?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just in terms of security, this past year, we had a trailer of similar size stolen. And we were fortunate and got it back, but just something we've learned through that process. You can't lock it up. You can't be too careful when you're locking it up. What I'm going to suggest is with the purchase of the trailer, get a good tongue lock and wheel locks as well. Make it look like Fort Knox.
Make sense?
Absolutely.
You can
Really
include
good.
that in your assigned budget of 22 plus HST? All right, okay. Again, if there's any problems while you work this out between you and the CAO, you can bring it back to council if and ask for any changes, but I'm sure we can get this project moving fine. And I know the volunteers at the BIA will appreciate it, because we've talked about this a lot. So thank you very much. Members of council, we've got a motion in front of us with an amendment, and we've had a good discussion. Is there anything further? Seeing none, I will call the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? I'm going to say that carries. Thank you. A split vote, but that's a carried. How about that? Thank you very much, council. I appreciate that. All right, moving on. We have another report here from the Recreation Department. It's an alcohol risk management policy update, which is always something we need to do, and I'm glad it's being reviewed here. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PCR 004 2025 alcohol risk management policy update dated March 10th, 2025. And item 1, that council approve the updated alcohol risk management policy attached as Appendix A to this report. Mover and seconder. Mover and seconder. Deneen, thank you. Beelan, thank you very much. All right, Terry, you're speaking to this again. Thank you. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, some report highlights. So again, we're updating a 2012 policy that council had enacted back in February of 2012. And while we're reading the history behind this, back in 2012, we found out that actually buck and does were no longer allowed in our community center, specifically the Stainer and Creemore Community Center, and perhaps Councillor Walker recalls that. But the council on June 22nd, 2015, actually amended the policy to allow for buck and does as long as OPP officers, uniformed OPP officers were on site. So again, this policy was due for a refresh, specifically with respect to the current 2025 regulations that are provided by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, specifically regarding the Liquor License and Controlled Act. The control word now has been added to the act with respect to cannabis. So we wanted to update our policy to reflect a lot of those changes. We also added the low-risk insurance component that we provide to all of our facilities with respect to and there's a whole list there in the policy with respect to low-risk events that we hold at our community centers. We also removed the need in this update for licensed OPP officers. And we're suggesting that we just require licensed security officers to be on site during licensed events. And finally, the policy has a section, sections A and C, with respect to it prevents alcohol and alcohol advertising at youth-focused events. The department is recommending that we stay status quo with that we do not allow alcohol or advertising of alcohol during youth-focused events. Most recently, we did have a request for an event that was youth in nature, and we obviously prevented it, and we suggest that we continue to go down that road. With that, Your Worship, I'm available for any questions that council may have.
All right, thank you very much. Members of council, do you have any questions to the report? Yes, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Worship, and excuse me if I have missed it. Is there anything there with regards to outside policy with regards to outside events? I'm primarily thinking of the music market park at the Kinsman event that's fenced. I didn't see anything, but I may have missed it. I just wondered if we have a policy with regards to outside events such as that and what is required as far as policing and security, et cetera.
Go right ahead, Mr.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I don't think the policy is specific with respect to either indoor or outdoor. I think this policy is for all licensed events. And again, we would follow the Alcohol Commission of Ontario's regulations around that. As you know, the AGCO changes the regulations quite frequently, specifically if there's a change in government. But we would rely on their guidelines for those events, but this policy would affect the outdoor events as well.
Go ahead.
Further then, would you just please make sure that those with that outdoor events are following rules and regulations, because the last couple of years, things have not been going the way they should be going over there at the park. And I just don't want the township to be in jeopardy of liability issues as well as losing licensing facilities for the township. So there are issues there that need to be addressed through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any other members of council with any questions? Yes, Mr. MacArthur.
Yeah, Terry, I just wonder if you should clarify a little more. I know I missed it last night when I was going over this report, but under responsibilities and requirements of the permit holder, the first line says the permit holder will ensure bartenders and servers do not serve. Should we not say qualified smart serve bartenders in there possibly? I know it's covered down below under ticket seller has to be smart serve, but the bartender should be too.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, I don't have the policy right in front of me, but if I recall when we updated it, we didn't put that language in because the permit holder must follow the Alcohol Gaming Commission's regulations, which states that all licensed people have to have the smart serve. So again, we wanted to kind of keep this a little bit, we wanted to let the provincial guidelines kind of dictate those kind of regulations versus us with our municipal bylaws. But if you'd want, we can add that language if you'd like.
Yeah, I just think it probably can't be said enough, I don't think. So, and like you say, you've got it down under the sellers, so may as well include it under the bartenders, in my opinion.
I think it's covered. I think it is. I think if you're opening alcohol, I think you have to be a smart serve just to even open it, to take a can and pop it open. I think so. Yes, Mr. Walker?
Your Worship, on page 6 of the policy itself, under minimum staffing requirements, it talks about the number of attendees, 1 to 100, number of bartenders required 1, monitors at the door, total staffing 2, and then it says number of staff with smart serves is 2. So it is listed there that if you have 1 to 100, you have a bartender and a ticket seller, both must have smart serve. Or 2 of them have to have smart serve that are there, and then it goes by numbers. 100, 101 to 200, 2 must have smart serve, and 201 plus 3 there must have smart serve. So it is listed, just a matter of on numbers. It's not listed as 2, but numbers.
Thank you. Mr. Vachon, as a supplemental to this very question, does your department still operate or facilitate a smart serve training opportunities? We did do that at one time. I'm not sure if we are still doing that opportunity.
Thank you, Your Worship. My department does not, but I see Miss Gill might have stepped away. She may have more information
Yeah.
with respect to that.
For sure,
yeah.
for sure, your department did.
It did, okay.
For
Must have been
sure.
before my time.
There were many volunteers that went through Smart Surf training, and it was facilitated and organized by your staff, some staff members, and we made a hall available, and many volunteers attended it from all over the township. It was taught by someone else. It wasn't taught by our staff, but just facilitating to creating it and running it. So something we should think about maybe. Just since this policy is going to be updated, we should have an opportunity to update it for the volunteers as well as the new volunteers, because we've got new volunteers joining us, right? So
Yes.
there you go. And Tammy's just walked back in. So why don't we just, I'll speak while she walks to her chair. Tammy Gill, we've been chatting about the opportunity for training for volunteers and or hall board members or any volunteers to get their Smart Serve training. It was at one time something that recreation staff did facilitate to create the meeting, and they arranged for somebody who's a Smart Serve trainer to do classes. Did we have that program in place, or is there anything like that that we can do for our volunteers?
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, I stepped out.
That's
there.
okay.
My
It's all right.
timing wasn't good. At this point in time, we haven't offered that, but I think if council so wishes, that could be something that I could bring a report back on. I'm not sure the costing involved or things of that nature, but I'd be happy to investigate if council so wishes.
There's an online tool to do it. It's not difficult. Some people like to have classroom training, that's all. So yes, go ahead, Phyllis.
Smart Serve is every 5 years.
Yes. Oh, that's
So,
right.
Yeah, so anybody that got it in 2018, they had 5 years. So, I think everybody probably needs to be renewed at this point, or
Yeah.
majority of people now. And also they had the food handlers course. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
the food
That's another
handlers
one that we
course
did
was
too.
offered since I've come on council.
Yeah.
But the Smart Serve would be a good thing to renew at this point, because 2018, anybody in 2018 needs to renew now.
Okay. Sorry, not to get off topic. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to the rest of council. Although we haven't engaged Human Resources and Parks and Recreation, the Clerk's Department was talking the last couple of weeks of better recruitment for our hall boards and people. And part of this is training, different things that they can use, not only as a volunteer, but out in the community. So Smart Serve was definitely one on the list, and food handlers one that I didn't think about, but we haven't engaged Parks and Recreation, Human Resources yet. But it's something we want to put on the docket, especially as we transition to a new council after the 2026 election too.
Oh, boy. Really thinking down the road. Okay. That's great. Thank you. I like to see that, everybody working together. If there's nothing further, anybody have any other questions? Looking up to you, Paul. No, nothing? Okay. Council, we've got a resolution. We've got a mover and seconder. I am prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. Good luck, Mr. Vachon, and we'll maybe get that followed up with Tammy through our HR trainings and Clerk's Department. Terrific. Good work. Moving over to the Planning and Building Department, we have a resolution here in regards to Edward Street and George Street residential development, known as the Zeng, a draft plan of subdivision. This is in Creemore. All right, members of council, be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PB 005-2025. It's 101 Edward Street East and 111 George Street residential development, Zeng, draft plan of subdivision dated March the 10th, 2025. Item 1, that council finds that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement as well as the goals and objectives and intent of the county and the township official plans, and has considered the staff recommendations and the written and oral submissions made by the agencies and the public. Item 2, the council grants draft plan approval to the draft plan of subdivision, will be known as DFT 1, DFT 2, 51M-X, prepared by Loft Planning and Tatham Engineering, and it's dated November the 10th, 2021. And revised January 26, 2025, attached in Appendix D, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix E, and that council directs staff to give notice of draft plan of subdivision approval in accordance with Section 51 of the Planning Act. Can I look for a mover and seconder? Mr. Van Staveren. Thank you. Mr. Broderick, thank you. All right. This is quite a report, and I know we have Rosalind here with us. She is our manager of the department. So Roz, would you like to take the floor and tell us a little bit about this report, if there's anything you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Worship, and good evening, Council. The applications for the draft plan of subdivision were received from Christine Loft of Loft Planning on behalf of 2408969 Ontario Inc. around May of 2019. The applications propose a residential infill subdivision located on 101 Edward Street East and 111 George Street East in Creemore, also known as the Zhang subdivision. The subdivision proposes a total of 56 residential units broken down with 26 lots and 6 blocks. The blocks proposed contain 30 townhouse units. The development also proposes a connection street between Edward Street East and George Street, a park block, a stormwater management facility, a sanitary pumping station facility, trails, and channelization blocks for the East Creemore Drain. The public meeting to consider these applications was held on May 10th of 2021. And as council will know, the Creemore Waste and Wastewater Management or Wastewater Master Servicing Plan, or MSP, was completed in May 30th of 2024. And as this study is now completed, it is appropriate to bring these applications forward for council's consideration. Before you tonight, staff have presented a report that addresses the provincial interests, county and township policies, as well as public and agency comments. The report also proposes draft plans of subdivisions and a comprehensive set of proposed draft plan conditions that were written in collaboration with Patty Kennedy, Manager of Engineering. These proposed draft plan conditions will direct the final design of the subdivision, and once the conditions have been fulfilled, will allow for the registration of the subdivision in the future. The lands were also previously zoned to prevent the proposed development in September of 2023 and are zoned with a hold symbol that will be removed when the following has been met: registration of the draft plan of subdivision and appropriate allocation of municipal water and wastewater capacity and completion of a site plan approval for the townhouse blocks 21 through to 26. That concludes my summary, and staff are here to help answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. It seems so long ago that May the 10th, 2021 is when we had the public meeting on this. Members of council, do you have any questions to this report and this ask for us to support the draft plan approval? Mr. MacArthur.
I'm not sure who to direct this to, Your Worship, but just read in some of the reports, obviously, we're having a cooperative effort with this plan of subdivision along with the tribute as far as, because this is downhill from tribute. So I'm assuming that's all being coordinated.
Rosalind, would you like to speak to the cooperative and collaborative work that's going on between the two developers?
Thank you. I can certainly agree that there will be collaboration, but I may turn to my colleagues to help with like exactly what will happen in terms of that or next steps. But definitely there is going to need to have this development approved because connections through the East Creemore Drain, there's a sanitary pumping station on the property, etc. But I'll pass it over to Patty.
Sure. Manager Patty, would you like to jump in there with something? I see Dan wants to jump ahead of you. What's going on, Dan?
I might grab that one, Your Worship. I can confirm, Rosalind, that there's many cooperations or coordinations need to happen with actually 3 developments. And those have been ongoing, and now that the master servicing plan was complete, we can now proceed to the next steps. And those next steps would be entering into the design phase of the sewage treatment plant upgrades, the design of the pump station, further investigation for water servicing in Creemore. We in fact have a a bit of a touch base meeting this next week, this time next week. Or not this time, but March 17th.
Okay.
To touch base with those three developers to sort of kick off that next phase of design. So.
Okay. So are you attending that or is Patty attending that? Oh, you're both going to be there.
We all would.
All right. Be well represented there. Thank you very much. Mr. MacArthur, nothing further? All right. Any other members of council with any questions to the draft plan approval as presented to us? All right. All right. I'm looking forward to this. This is 56 more residential units and a proper townhouse units that are going to be prepared. So this is a very exciting time for Creemore. And as outlined in your report, the hold is still in place in regard to the water and wastewater capacities. So nothing's getting built until we get that, but we're getting closer all the time. Thank you very much. Members of council, if there's nothing further, we have a motion with a mover and seconder. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. All right. Thank you very much. Well done, Roz. Okay, moving on. We have the Brock Street culvert replacement from Public Works. Okay. A recommendation, be it resolved, that council receive report PW 004-2025, the Brock Street culvert replacement tender results and award dated March the 10th, 2025. The council award the tender submitted by CMB Excavation in the amount of $456,756.57, excluding HST. Council, can I get a mover and seconder? Mr. Walker, perhaps? Thank you. And Councillor Beelan, Councillor Beelan, thank you. Anything you want to add to this report? Thank you. Dan?
Your worship, I think it's fairly straightforward report. I hope it's a tender award. Surprised to see 27 bidders. In my 26 or 5 years of municipal work, I don't think I've ever seen that many bidders on a tender. So wide range of pricing on this one, but happy to see that it's well under budget. So.
Excellent.
Answer any questions if you have any.
All right, council member. Thank you, members of council. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Have we worked with this company before in Clearview? And I see that you had no response from the city of Barrie with regards to references. So I'm just wondering if there's any further comments you can make with regards to that.
Through your worship, to Councillor Walker, we have not, nor has RJ Burnside, but the references that were checked, I believe was one with the city of Windsor, I believe. And the other two, they worked as subcontractors for other contractors. So, you know, we're fairly confident with the references that we did get back that they're qualified to do that work.
All right, yes, go ahead.
Just Dan, we're just talking about Brock Street. Now, the rest of that culvert goes underground over to Elm Street. Have we checked to see what that underground part is like? Do we know what that type of culverting down under the ground is? Because that at one point was open years ago and then they filled it in. And I'm just wondering what state the culverting is underneath the grounds there that cut across the corner over to Elm Street.
Good question. Have we done any camera work there? I don't think.
Thank you, worship. I'm just going to pull it up here because I had always assumed, and you never want to assume anything here. So, yeah. So, that enclosed section is on private property. So I'm not sure how that was facilitated to be enclosed at whatever time it did, but that was my knowledge of that was it was a private enclosure. So we would not have inspected that, or we would not inspect that.
Too bad Mac McDonald wasn't around. We could have asked him. There you go. Did I see your card up there, Paul? Yes, I did. Go ahead, Paul. And then I think there's other cards here too. Go ahead.
Thank you. Question again to Terry. when I went over the bidders list, like $600,000 difference in the quote scares me. And I maybe not to hammer on it, but did some get missed in this quote? Why some are so high and some are so low, or are we going to get nailed after the fact?
Are we comfortable with the confidence of our engineers reviewing it? That's the big question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Deputy Mayor, I asked the same very question to our engineer that reviewed this. And he assured me that he reviewed the unit pricing as listed in the tender to ensure that very issue. And I think he raised the fact that I think the only one that was kind of abnormally low was, I believe, granular A or granular B material. He made reference to it in his reference letter or his referral letter. Yeah, it was the granular B. So everything was fairly consistent rather than the granular B. And in his estimation, granular B was kind of an item to have in the tender, but very little he would estimate to actually use granular B on this project. So it would not be significant in the fact that the amount that they've suggested, but on the unit cost, you just pay for what you use basically, and the unit price was fairly consistent.
Paul, you're comfortable with that?
Yep. Thank you.
All right. I think it was Beelan, and then did you have something? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's nice to see so many bids. I think it means the competition is there, and maybe that's why you're getting bids that are lower, just so the guys keep the guys working. My question was, and I already looked it up, whereabouts is this company? They're out of Stouffville, so I was looking at it from the Climate Action Committee. It's nice to have someone local, so you're not putting a bigger footprint, bringing all the stuff in. So I'm happy with that's fairly local. So I answered my own question. Okay.
Thank you very much for that. If there's no other questions, I have a question. The commencement of work on this project, I would respectfully ask that you work with the project manager and the person responsible for this to make sure that they do not interfere with one of our most successful events, the duck races that's happened there in Centennial Park. So, the community really comes out for that event, and we want to make sure that the duck races remain successful. So this construction project will be definitely in the vicinity of the duck race. So can you just assure council and the public that we're going to make sure that we don't interfere?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I think our clerk brought that up at our review meeting of this, and
she takes my ideas and sends them to the senior management team. Yes, and she just reminded me to bring it up too. So I'll tell you right now. Anyway.
So yes, Your Worship, we will ensure that the construction of this does not start prior to the duck race. And
all right, that's great. We want to make sure that that's a success. So thank you very much. Nothing further. Members of council, we have a mover and seconder. I am prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Again, that carries unanimous. Well done. Look forward to getting this project underway. From the bylaw enforcement team, we have a bylaw proposal to in regards to fences around pool enclosures. It's an update, so I'll read this. I'll look for a mover and seconder. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report of BL 001-2025, the fence and pool enclosure bylaw dated March the 10th, 2025. Item 1, the council supports the updated fence and pool enclosure bylaw as outlined in Appendix A to this report. And item 2, that the new fence and post enclosure bylaw be presented to council for final approval at the March 24th, 2025 council meeting. Can I get a mover and seconder on this? Deneen, thank you. And MacArthur, thank you very much. Our senior bylaw officer is here. Joe, tell me, Joe, Is there anything you'd like to add to your, to the report that council should be aware of?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a pretty straightforward report. There were a few updates. We had updated our set fines. We had updated the pool enclosure section to include some new requirements under the building code. And we also updated some wording. But besides that, the bylaw remains pretty much as it was.
Thank you very much. Members of council, do you have any questions for our senior bylaw officer? All right. I would, oh, there we are. Paul Van Stavern is online. I'd also want to ask, is our chief still online? Is he? Scott Davison is there too. So maybe you just give Scott the heads up. I'll have a question for him. Go ahead, Paul.
Under item 4.1B, it says in there that the maximum height of a fence is 7.5 feet. Is that on the residential side of things, or is that on the commercial side, or can you talk to that height? And is that existing or a new amendment?
Joe, can you answer that?
Yeah, through Your Worship. That's under the residential. Yeah.
So just residential?
Yep.
It's not commercial? Paul, do you understand?
Yeah, it just seems very high. 7.5 feet seems awfully high, and I didn't know if that was amended or if that was existing.
No, that is the same. Typically, it's a 6-foot straight board and then 1.5 feet of lattice.
Okay, so that's the definition, not 7.5 feet of board.
Correct. So 7.5 feet is just the maximum height.
Okay. The second part was item 5.2. It would not allow barbed wire. And I can see on...
Why not? What a great idea.
Well, I can see razor wire. I don't have a problem with banning razor wire, but we've used it on commercial bases for years to protect yards where people would climb over. I find it a little, I don't know. I know we use it in farming all the time, but we've used it on a commercial basis as well. Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, it would be not allowed. It would be prohibited in residential areas, but it does say section B, a development agreement authorized under a planning act would allow the use for barbed wire.
So under site plan agreement, like a commercial building, they would be allowed it to protect the machinery yard or something like that.
That's correct.
Okay, as long as we can do that, I agree with it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Members of council, any other questions to our bylaw team or anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I would do a quick question for our chief. Is the chief on there? Scott Davidson? I don't know if you're there or not.
Your worship.
Getting your camera up and running, doesn't matter. I think you can hear me anyway, Scott, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Scott, just have a quick question in regards to, fire safety and fire prevention and so on. This bylaw needs to be enacted, obviously, to protect, person's lives, obviously, if someone was to wander upon into a pool or whatever. Is this been reviewed by your fire department, and do you discuss this with your firefighters about this safety about pools? You know, I'm thinking about the one in Ottawa that we had, the fire. That pool was there, it was quite obvious, but you don't want your firefighters, stepping back to look at the building and falling in a pool. So just thinking as long as the fire department is fully updated on what the pool enclosure bylaw is, does that make sense to you, sir?
To your worship, you're absolutely right. So we'll go back to that fire. That's part of our what we call 360 when we arrive on scene, is look for hazards and identify those to the crews on scene. And pools are an identified hazard.
Yeah.
So
It can also, again, the fencing can also be a hindrance too for you to be able to get at something if you need to. So I guess you'd have to be prepared to breach the fence if necessary and take that risk. Is that right?
that's right. We have the tools to do so. So
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. I just want to make sure that, this is the type of thing that we want to make sure that all the departments that are sort of impacted by it are part of it. So thank you very much for your input there, Scott. Members of council, any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Joe, for your report. Council, we've got a mover and seconder on the motion. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Legislative services. Council, we have a recommendation here regarding a procedure bylaw amendment review. about public participation. So the recommendation says, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report LS 006-2025, the procedure bylaw amendment regarding public participation dated March the 10th, 2025. And item 1, that council supports the amendment to section 7.5, the procedure bylaw 24-71 as outlined in this report. And item 2, that staff be directed to present an amending bylaw to the procedure bylaw for council's final approval at the March 24, 2025 council meeting. Is there a mover and seconder on this, please? Mr. Broderick, Mr. Beelan, thank you very much, gentlemen. And Madam Clerk, would you like to speak to this this recommendation?
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe the report's pretty self-explanatory. Just looking at our public participation items at this specific meeting, we had 4 of them, and none of them related to any items on the agenda. So I think that speaks to our report. It doesn't mean that some of the comments weren't worthy. I think that there's other measures to address those. For example, formal delegation before council or different procedure under legislation, i.e. the Planning Act or something through the clerk's department. I will say that Councillor MacArthur did phone me today, and he made a very good suggestion. Where you read section 7.5 that I want to amend, it states any interested party in attendance will be invited. So we want to remove in attendance. That's just carried over from our previous procedure bylaw. The intent is that it doesn't matter if it's written or in-person public participation, it has to relate to an item on the agenda.
All right, clear as mud. Members of council, have any questions? Thank you, Mr. MacArthur, for that input. Members of council, any questions? All right, I'm going to bring forward a comment and a question. You know, I think we've worked very diligently here at Clearview Township to make sure that the public have access to finding answers. We have a very good website with a lot of great information on it. We have a very good internet system, as in emailing. We have a very good email system. Many years ago, to a previous mayor, and when I was a councillor, I asked for our council to adopt a one email address for all members of council, and that's been being used now pretty extensively. council@clearview.ca is how you can communicate with all members of council by email at any time. Each of our departments have general email addresses. For the planning department, it's planning@clearview.ca, for instance. So if you have a question from the public for any topic, there's always a way to get a hold of somebody here at the township if it's by email. Each department has those, and they're all published on our websites. And so that information is all available for people to do that. We've been using it for years. So when the clerk brought this recommendation to me and I reviewed it, and I thought, this is actually, this makes total sense. Because receiving these written questions that are not related to the topics that are on our agenda, these written questions, while they're excellent, some of them are very worthy, I think it's important that the authors of these written questions know that they can ask the question to the right person. The snow removal question today, I don't know what's going on the sidewalk. Why would I? I don't drive the sidewalk plow, right? So the Public Works Department operates that, and they know what that's all about. So that's just one example. So I think that this is a good recommendation to create efficiencies in the way we operate our council meetings and to create efficiencies here at council and the operation of the whole municipality. And so I look forward to council passing this bylaw at the subsequent meeting on the 24th. If there's no further questions or comments. Seeing none, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you very much, council. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for bringing this up. All right, council, at this time, we have, there are no bylaws actually for tonight's meeting other than our confirmatory bylaw. There are also no notices of motion, but I will ask, is there any new business? No new business? Seeing none, then we'll go directly to our confirmatory bylaw at this time. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2518, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the March 10, 2025 council meeting, be presented or read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on the 10th day of March 2025. Deneen, thank you. And Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you. All those in favor? And the bylaw carries. All right, it is daylight savings time, and I note that our clock automatically changed, so it's now 7:05? 4, is it? Is that correct? 7:04. Wow, it's even better. It's 7:04 PM, council. Be it resolved, the council meeting be adjourned at 7:04 PM. Mr. Broderick, Mr. MacArthur. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. That carries unanimous. Have a good evening, everybody. Enjoy spring.